You know that feeling, right? Your heart starts hammering, your palms get all sweaty, and suddenly the 30 people in the room feel like 30,000. Well, that fear of public speaking is one of the most common anxieties on the entire planet. But what if we could do more than just, cope with it? What if we could actually tame it? Okay, let's get into it.
This quote is a classic for a reason. Jerry Seinfeld just hit the nail on the head back in '93. This isn't some minor inconvenience we're talking about. For a lot of people, it's a deep, deep fear. That is, literally worse than death. And that idea just opens up a huge question. Why is our brain so completely terrified of an audience? And, more importantly, what can we actually do about it?
So here's our game plan. We're going to go on a journey from the root of the problem all the way to the cutting edge of the solution. We'll look at why this fear is so common, what's actually happening inside your brain, and then we're going to explore two pretty groundbreaking new approaches, one using your own body and one using high-tech simulation, before we check out what the data says and what it all means for the future of fear itself.
Okay, so first up, just how common is this, really? Is it actually a bigger deal than spiders or heights or, death? Turns out, the numbers are pretty staggering.
Yeah, 85%. That's not a typo. Some studies estimate that up to 85% of us have some level of anxiety about speaking in public. I mean, think about that. That's a massive slice of the population, from students to top-level CEOs. This isn't some niche problem. It's practically a universal human experience. So if you feel that dread, you are very, very far from being alone.
All right, to really figure out how to treat this, we first have to get what's going on under the hood. Because this isn't just all in your head. Nope, it's a powerful, primal, and really deeply biological reaction. So, let me introduce you to the main culprit, the HPA axis. Just think of it as your body's emergency broadcast system. It's this ancient survival circuit that's, absolutely fantastic when you're facing down a saber-toothed tiger, but not so great when you're just facing a PowerPoint presentation. When this thing gets triggered, it unleashes a whole cascade of hormones to get you ready for fight or flight.
And here's exactly how that chain reaction goes down. First, your brain tags the audience as a potential threat. Right away, the HPA axis fires up, and it floods your system with stress hormones. That's why your heart races and your palms sweat. Your body is literally gearing up for a physical fight. But here's the real kicker. Those exact same hormones mess with your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain you need for clear thinking and remembering stuff. And just like that, you can't remember your opening line. It's not you failing, it's a full-on biological hijacking.
So how do we stop the hijack? Well, this first approach is fascinatingly low-tech. It's called an embodied strategy. And the whole idea is to use your own body to retrain your brain's response from the inside out. Now, this is what's so interesting about this program, called Corporal. The philosophy behind it is that the energy of anxiety isn't actually the enemy. The shaking, the racing heart, that's just raw energy. The problem is that it's chaotic. So the goal of this program is to teach you how to grab that raw energy and transform it into focused, communicative power. Pretty cool, right? So how does it actually work? Well, the toolkit is all about physical practice. You work on body awareness, learning to really feel and control your physical state. You learn to embody your message, so your gestures aren't just nervous tics, but are an intentional part of how you communicate. Through things like simulation and visualization, you physically rehearse not just the words, but the feeling of turning that nervous buzz into confident energy. Okay, so we're going from low-tech to high-tech. If the first solution is all about retraining your internal response, this second one is about safely practicing in a simulated external world. Seriously, think of it like a flight simulator, but instead of landing a plane, you're landing your big presentation. This whole approach is built on a tried and true psychological principle: systematic desensitization. It's pretty simple, actually. The more you're exposed to something scary in a safe, controlled way, the less scary it becomes. Your brain literally learns that the threat isn't real, and that fear response just starts to fade. The big challenge has always been, how do you get that repeated, controlled practice for public speaking? And the answer is virtual reality. And listen, this isn't just some gimmick. Researchers have put this tech through the ringer. This flowchart here shows the process they used in a massive meta-analysis, where scientists sifted through over 140 publications to really analyze 92 solid studies on VR therapy. This is some serious science. And this is the genius of it. VR completely solves the practice problem. You can face an audience of 5 or 500, you can make them friendly or hostile, and you can do it over and over and over again, all from the privacy of a room.
There's zero risk of real-world embarrassment. You just pop on the headset and practice until that fear starts to shrink. It's exposure therapy on demand.
Okay, so we have two really different approaches. One is all about the body, the other is all about technology. But the real question, the one we all want to know is, do they deliver? Let's check out the data.
And the short answer is a big yes. The corporal program led to a major drop in how anxious people felt. And at the same time, that huge review of VR therapy found it to be just as effective as traditional treatments, like cognitive behavioral therapy. Both of these methods are clearly moving the needle in a big way.
Let's get a little more specific. For the body-based program, Corp Oral, participants reported, get this, a 33% reduction in their anxiety after the training. That is a huge drop from a single 5-hour program.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Before the program, on a 10-point scale, the average anxiety was way up there, at an 8.6. After, it plummeted down to a 5.8. I mean, you can see the difference right there. It shows a really powerful change in how people were actually experiencing their own fear.
The results for VR are just as compelling. When researchers dug into 27 different studies that compared anxiety levels before and after VR treatment, a staggering 26 of them concluded that VR was an effective treatment. The evidence here is just overwhelmingly positive. This tech really works.
So what we have here are two powerful, evidence-based tools for tackling one of our oldest fears. One works from the inside out, the other from the outside in. But what's the bigger story here? What's the takeaway?
I mean, naturally, this is the question that pops in your head, right? Should you be focusing on these embodiment techniques, or should you dive into a virtual world? Which one's the winner?
But what if we're looking at this all wrong? What if this isn't a competition at all, but a confirmation of something much deeper?
And this right here is the real takeaway. Both of these methods, the corporal program and VR therapy, they shift the goal away from the impossible task of eliminating anxiety to the totally achievable one of managing it. One teaches you how to channel the physical energy of fear, while the other gives you a safe playground to practice and get used to the trigger. They are two different roads that lead to the exact same place, mastery. They give you the power to change your relationship with fear.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought. Public speaking is just one fear. If these approaches, one ancient and physical, one modern and digital, can help us tame this super deep-seated anxiety, what else can we apply them to? What other limitations, whether they're self-imposed or biological, are now within our reach to manage and even master? What comes next for us in this project of understanding ourselves?